Hi, this is Mark Shepherd. I'm an acupuncturist in Donington, Chiddesdale, Sussex, and so today I'm walking along with my fine young crowd of family, and it is quite important that we do manage to get out. It can be quite scary, particularly if we're concerned about social distancing, if we do have to self-isolate because we are particularly at risk, and obviously it's something we can't do. But with just a few minutes away from where I live, I'm already surrounded by trees, fresh air, and apart from the little gaggle that I brought with me, there's barely anybody in sight. So what I'm going to do is I want to talk about one of the acupuncture points that we use. So I'm just going to pass a water bottle to somebody else who's going to a faithful assistant. Thank you very much. Thank you. And what we're going to talk about today, particularly as it's lovely fresh air, we're going to talk about a point called welcome fragrance. And welcome fragrance is a point which you'll find on your face, which is where you see the laughter line, as it were, here, and the curve of the nose. If you come just out and press in, obviously I'm not allowed to do that at the moment because we're outside, we're not supposed to touch our face. And what you can do is apply gentle pressure there. What you do is you'll find a dip. And what you can typically do is just tap, so just be tapping gently on it. I generally use middle finger rather than index finger, and just a gentle movement with your hand, just tapping against it, can stimulate the point, or just gently applying some pressure there. Now it's the point's called welcome fragrance because it's very good at helping clear the sinuses. And what I say to people is just to go gently, because you don't really need to do these things hard. You can put a lot of pressure on them, but I just don't find it's necessary. So there's a really good point that you can be using to help with your sinuses. So when I offer this sort of advice, there are people out there who, due to their medical conditions, cannot have massage. So if you're one of those, then please don't use these techniques. But it is it's a lovely thing to do, and it does seem to work really rather well. So, I mean, these are included in some of the points that I would give people when we're doing acupressure consultations. Now, what we would do with that is try and make it more applicable, however, to the person, rather than just using a generic point. This is a good generic point, which I might use with people, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be possibly the best one for them. There's other ways of dealing with the sinuses. There's a point which is just up on the just up above the hairline. Now my hairline is definitely moving. Where it is now wasn't where it started, but there's a point just above the hairline which you can use to help sinuses as well. And it's just really listening to people and finding out what's going on for them, to decide whether or not that's an appropriate point. Because maybe the sinus issue isn't because the sinuses are necessarily blocked up with mucus. It might be more of a problem due to, say, allergy or dust type issues. So in which case we might be looking from a Chinese medicine theory point of view, what points we could use to try and influence that. So today that's welcome fragrance. It's the last point on the large intestine channel, interestingly enough, and which is a channel which starts on the little finger and then goes up the arm to the shoulder. There's a point on the tip of the shoulder which is very useful in treating shoulder conditions. There's a point on the elbow which is fantastic at treating numerous conditions, and there's a quite well-known point on the hand. Interestingly enough, many years ago in a karate session, one of the participants of the class fainted, and the instructor at the time, really good instructor, went across and pressed this point on their hand, and next thing they know, they were absolutely wide awake, really quick. So it's interesting what some of these points can do. So, do excuse me, just crossing the road, even with such few cars, I guess it's always good to check. So I hope that's interesting for you. If you have any comments, queries or questions, it'd be really good if you can just let me know and leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you. And also you can feel free to text me or email me, and we can have a proper chat. So, like I say, it is can be a little bit nervy going out perhaps, but I've barely seen another person, and as long as we're employing the social distancing and and we're not someone who should be self-isolating because we're particularly at risk, this would be a great thing to do. Have a great evening. Bye bye.